Welcome to Geocache Adventures, the podcast where we explore everything geocaching. I'm your host, Shadow Dragon 1. I love geocaching. If you're listening to this, you probably love it too. If you enjoy the podcast, consider sharing it with somebody that you think would love it. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and there's a Facebook group as well, so you can join in the fun and share your adventures. There's also a Patreon page that you can join and unlock exclusive content. Amy, Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me today is fellow geocacher and entrepreneur, Julian. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this. I'm honored to be on this amazing podcast, and I know that you have interviewed famous geocaching businesses, so to be on this podcast is really amazing. Once again, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'd like to point out, you are currently the youngest guest on the show who is not my son. My son is younger than you, but you are. Tell us how old you are, because I'm very impressed at your ambition here.
Thank you so much. I'm 14. Yeah, I've been doing this for a few years now.
So we're going to talk about your geocaching shop, but first, before we start that, I like to ask my guests, how did you start geocaching?
My geocaching username is NormAlex110 because when I was much younger, I used to write my own newsletters for fun, advertising different fake products because I loved everything business, and I created this character who would sell the fake products called Norm Alex. So naturally, this was a great choice for a geocaching username. I started geocaching when I heard from one of my very close friends that there was this location-based game where you find these hidden containers that are everywhere, and that concept seemed so remarkably interesting. So I downloaded the app and went out and found my first geocaching find. That was 2 bottle caps stuck together. After that, I just was finding more and more of these geocaches. So I just thought, why don't I hide one of these geocaches? So I hid my first geocache on November of 2020 after figuring out the process of hiding one and how to submit a reviewer note. And these really nice geocachers found my first geocache and wrote a really detailed log. It was great reading their adventure in the log.
Yeah, I always love when detailed logs are added to caches I've hidden. It's just really nice, isn't it?
Yes, it's really nice. And like for my first cache, and they're like writing this like really big log. It was how they were like in the area, you know, and they've had family in the area, and they ran a knitting place and all this thing, and it was really incredible. I'm like, wow, these people just found my geocache and wrote this amazing log, you know? It's way better than TFTC.
Yeah, I've had people just put a space in it so it doesn't even show any characters.
Oh no, that's horrible.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, but I was really enjoying geocaching, and I started hearing about geocaching events, so I decided to host one in 2021, but due to the reviewer and prior restrictions of the time, they would not publish it. So the next year, I hosted my very own geocaching events. Ever since, this has been a yearly event, and I got to meet the geocachers who were the FTF on my very first hide. Going into the rabbit hole of geocaching, I found out about the geocaching vlogger and West Virginia Tim who creates gadget caches. I got inspiration from both of them to hide a gadget cache. So after that, I was like, I could sell a small 3D printed gadget cache to hide on my website, www.gadgetsgeo.com.
So that's how the shop idea started.
Well, actually, you know, the shop idea started, sort of like that. Basically, Gears, Gadgets, and Geocaches is my business that I started to provide high-quality, durable, and affordable 3D printed geocaches. I've been passionate about 3D printing for a long time, and when I got into geocaching, I realized there was a need to be more durable and affordable geocaches out there. So I decided to design and 3D print a geocache, hit it, and it ended up getting a lot of favorite points. Years ago, I participated in young entrepreneur fairs where I showcased and sold my geocaches and other items. The geocaches were a hit, and I even won awards for the highest business potential. Seeing this helped bring more unique geocaches into the game, I officially launched Gears and Gadgets and Geocaches. My goal has always been to provide more quality geocaches while keeping costs low. Yeah, that's really the story of how I, started my
Okay.
business.
So you have containers at the shop, but you also have greeting cards at the shop.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the greeting cards and what all your shop offers.
Oh yes, the greeting cards are actually this new thing that I just came out with because I started this revolutionary idea of geocaching greeting cards when I was designing a birthday card for someone, and I was like, they should have a birthday card for geocachers. So I created geocaching greeting cards. I beta tested this idea at Geopalooza and GeoWoodstock XX, and it was a big success. And even a geocacher recommended making a variety pack. So I established the geocaching greeting cards and also created a variety pack of them.
That's very cool.
I have also a wide range of products, colors, and also different types of materials that I offer. For example, I sell skulls, birds, pine cones, mushrooms, small containers, rocks, micros, and pumpkins, all as geocaches. I have many different unique variations of colors and have different types of materials such as the environmentally friendly PLA filament and additionally wood PLA that looks like and feels like wood. We also have rubber-like bendable TPU. All make great geocaches. At Gears and Gadgets and Geocaches, I take thought and consideration into every product that I create.
I love that you mentioned the environmentally friendly aspect of the materials that you use, especially since geocaching has the CETO aspect and it's about getting people outside in nature. And I think it's great that you have been conscious about using environmentally friendly materials like that.
Thank you so much. Most of the geocaches, the Tupperwares, actually use this type of plastic that's derived from oil, where my geocaches are a little different because I'm using this material that's derived from corn and wheat. So it's a little more environmentally friendly, you see.
Okay. So how long have you had your shop now?
I have had my shop for 4 years and my Etsy shop for 2.
Okay. So we mentioned you're 14. So you would have been 10 when you started the original shop?
Well, yeah, the business fairs started at 10, but then when I was 11, I was like, I feel like I can pull this together onto an online store.
And what did your parents say when you approached them about starting an online store at 11 years old?
Well, my parents were happy that I wanted to start a business, and they knew how much I know about geocaching and 3D printing, so they thought it was a great idea. And they have always been really supportive of my business and geocaching ever since I started it and being on this podcast too.
That's awesome. And I do appreciate their cooperation allowing you to come be a guest on the podcast. I think it's awesome that they're so supportive in your adventures. So, your 3D printed background, how long have you been 3D printing objects?
Oh my, it's like more years. It's just a lot of years. I don't even remember when it started. I don't remember how it started, but all I know is that I've just been 3D printing for a really long time. Like building my 3D printing knowledge up. And then recently I've been like, I'm going to put into geocaches.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite item of yours that you make to sell?
That's a good question. I have to say it's going to be Signal the Frog. But the funny thing about this item is it's not actually on my website. It's on Shop Geocaching. But I was looking on Shop Geocaching's website at all the Signal the Frog related items, and I was like, why don't I design and 3D print geocaching's mascot, Signal the Frog Geocache, for the geocaching community? So on World Frog Day, the first version of everyone's favorite frog got released for purchase on Shop Geocaching. I've created another version of Signal the Frog where the signal is multicolored in yellow.
That is so cool that you are supplying shop geocaching. How did that get started? Did you approach them? Did they come to you? How does that come together?
It takes a lot of time and business letters into these partnerships. For example, some of these businesses contact me for custom items. Other times I have to initiate it. Again, it all really depends on the situations.
How many companies do you work with?
Well, I supply to various geocaching businesses like Shop Geocaching and Cache Advance, but I also have partnerships with FTF Geocacher Magazine and the Geocaching Vlogger.
Very cool.
Thanks.
What challenges did you face when you started your shop?
I like hearing feedback, so not hearing product improvement ideas can be a bit frustrating at times. Some good feedback I've gotten is while at a geocaching event, someone asked me to create a variety pack of the geocaching greeting cards, and now that's a product up on my website.
That feedback, that constructive feedback, can always be super helpful in developing ideas.
Oh, yes. I definitely welcome that feedback, I really like it. And, sometimes it's really, annoying when I don't hear feedback and I'm just, want to hear the feedback.
Yeah, it can be hard to get people to leave feedback these days. Online, they just buy it and tend to forget about doing that.
But sometimes they do, and I really cherish that feedback that I get.
What plans do you have for your shop for the future?
Well, I'm constantly trying to come up with ideas that the geocaching community might like, but if any of you have any ideas that you'd like me to try, you can contact me through my website.
And there's a contact page on the website that they can go to and reach out to you.
Oh, yeah, at the bottom of the website, I think in the footer, there's a contact. Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any social media accounts with the shop?
I do have, yes, I do. I think it's on Facebook. Yeah, I haven't posted on there in a while. Yeah, when I started, I have one up there still. But I also have a YouTube where I post stuff occasionally on. And a newsletter. Yes, a newsletter. Every month, I do a newsletter every month. So, yeah, if you go to my website, www.gadgetstogeo.com, you can sign up to my newsletter right there and get some really amazing, tips and tricks and all sorts of things. And also, maybe even some coupons some of the time.
Nice. When you're developing these 3D printed items, what kind of software do you use?
I use CAD, computer assisted drawing. That's there's a lot of different types of CAD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what I use, and then it's a big, huge process, from designing it. I 3D designed Signal the Frog myself, So, yeah, I do it myself. It's a big process that, goes into it, from designing it to getting to film it to printing it, and it's a very big process, But I really try to keep my costs low, So his main goal is for geocachers to have these quality, durable containers that are also good for the environment.
Have you had trouble with your printer not working right in the middle of a print? I know that's my husband and I have a 3D printer, and that has been an issue sometimes. The filament will break or something in the middle of a print.
Yeah. No matter how expensive you buy a 3D printer, it's always going to break. Yeah. Always.
Something will go wrong, yeah, eventually.
Somebody could get the top of the line 3D printer and it'll break. It really matters, but yeah, they all break. And I have to fix them all. Yeah.
Do you have multiple 3D printers, or are you just working off the one?
Oh yeah, I have multiple 3D printers. Yeah, a bunch. One printer is definitely not sufficient to run this business off of.
If people want to get updates on your shop, Is the newsletter the best place to sign up for that, or is there another place to go?
If they want to contact me, and all of that is through my website. Again, just letting you know, it's www.gadgtsgo.com. If you're wondering what sets my 3D printed geocaches apart from everyone else's, is that they are affordable, durable, and high quality favorite point worthy geocaches. So if you're looking for the perfect geocache, check out my shop.
And a 3D printed geocache is a really neat way to make your hide creative.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes, it's definitely the way. Sell a wide variety of 3D printed geocaches. So if you're looking for like a specific type or something, I have a wide variety. And then, if you don't see something that you'd like me to create, please feel free to contact me. I'll 100% create it and put it up there.
Very cool.
Yeah, this past year I have gone to GeoWoodstock XX and vendored there. I have to say it was a really amazing event, and it was a dream come true because I even met the geocaching vlogger. And additionally, I had a really amazing time, and I think everyone had a really great time there. By the way, I'm going to be vendoring at the wild and wonderful GeoWoodstock XXI. So if you're going or thinking about going, please stop by my table.
So when you vendor at an event like that, that's kind of an all-day thing, isn't it? You're at that vendor booth all day.
Yeah. There's really no time going around the event. But, I enjoy it personally, but everybody seemed to have a good time at GeoWoodstock XX. So, yeah, definitely if you're going to go to a really good event and go there, GeoWoodstock XXI, great event, and please stop by my table, I will have a lot of geocaches there. Maybe even a 3D printer printing geocaches. Who knows?
Oh, that'd be cool to watch. What kind of prep time does it take for you to print all these geocaches and stuff to get ready for an event like that?
Well, one geocache, it really depends. They could take from a little amount of time to a very, very, very long time. And then I get these orders, these big orders, and I'm printing for days and weeks, and then for these events, months. It takes me months to build up enough stock for these events. Yeah.
Wow. What would you say is your most complicated print that takes the longest to print?
I'm really thinking that's a very hard one. Well, I have to say yeah. I know one which is very tricky to print, but I don't want to spoil it because it might be a new product coming out, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But I know Signal the Frog that I mentioned before was pretty difficult to print. Yeah, it took a lot of time and film it.
Okay.
And then the whole designing process of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. That designing can take. I use 3D CAD software at my work, and yeah, it can take a lot to manipulate stuff. Some people don't realize how much it takes to manipulate your tool solids and stuff into the shapes that you need sometimes to get those curvatures and the surfaces just right.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Most people come up and they're thinking it's a copy and paste thing. I'm not so fast.
Yeah, no, it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, and they think it's 1 second printing it. No, it's not that easy.
Hours.
And yeah, many hours. And then, when it breaks or, and it's not just okay, you put it on the machine. Okay, now I can do other stuff. No, not that. Then it messes up, and then something else goes wrong, and then you have to do something, or then you lose the power.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, that's awful to lose power in the middle of a print.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot that can go wrong with trying to print a 3D model. And
Oh yeah.
the worst for me is when it's almost done and you're like 90% done and then suddenly it
Oh
messes
yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's all messed up, and then you have to figure something out, figure something else out. What happened wrong? Was it the printer, or did I do something? Yeah. Yeah, when I was printing surprise product, which I'm not going to reveal because it's coming out soon, literally the foot kept coming off, and it was
Oh
because I
gosh.
didn't do a correct setting. I didn't click a button correctly. And yeah, it was what was it, 4 hour print.
Oh gosh. And some people don't realize too, depending on your design, the software has to populate support structures.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was one of the issues that I had with the surprise design. Yeah, it's had a lot of issues with it. It's the most complex design so far. And basically it's encased in supports. It's like I have to like take it all out. You know, there's no magic solution to do that. There's no like magic way. It's you have to manually take it all apart, you know? So yeah, these costs, I'm trying to push them as low as I possibly can. Barely any profit here, you know. But it's all, my goal is to help the geocaching community.
That's very cool. When you're, how do you remove the supports? Do you have tools or is it just by hand?
Oh, I have a few tools. If it was just by hand, I wouldn't have any hands.
I find it's always hard to remove those supports sometimes.
Yeah, they stuck on there, and then yeah, okay, I'll just put a little extra force on this. Snap!
And then,
Oh
yeah, you
no!
break your print. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all messed up. Oh no!
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely happens. So you have two cache highlights for us.
Oh yes, I do.
Would you
I
like to
have
start with the one that you hidden?
Yes. One of my favorite geocache hides. I have a lot of favorite geocache hides. Like some I've adopted, some I, took a lot of time into making and stuff. But actually, I have to say, it was a very tricky process narrowing the one down that I wanted to talk about. But one of my favorite geocache hides is GC95HNK. That features a 3D printed geocache as the first stage. Is in the same perfect condition as when I first hit it many years ago. This shows how my 3D printed geocaches can withstand the rigors of the outdoors, being the perfect geocache for any geocacher. You can purchase these amazing geocaches at www.gadgetsgeo.com.
So it's a multi-stage. Is it just the first hide that's the 3D printed portion, or is...
Well, I had both stages as 3D printed containers. The second one was really cool. But here's the thing. Everybody loved it so much. All people from all over came to find it. So many people loved the second stage so much that they kept stealing it. It got stolen so much that, in the end, it was just like I was losing all these amazing cache containers, like due to people stealing these 3D printed cache containers. So basically, I had to end up making the second stage into a non-3D printed cache container. For the first stage, it's been there for years, which is incredible, and it looks the same as when I first put it out there.
That part's pretty cool, but it's frustrating that they kept stealing the other half of it.
Yeah, the other half was really, really cool.
Can you tell us what it was?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I could give it away, so it wouldn't be really giving it away. It was this little lock. It was this little lock. It is this 3D printed lock, and it was just hung on one of these poles, and it behind a sign, and it was really cool. You opened up the little lock, and inside was the logbook, but they kept stealing it. and kept stealing it. And I tried to use metal wire to hold it on there, kept stealing it. Only the metal wire remained. So, yeah, I would tell you the new stage, but, it's still active cache.
Yeah,
so
we don't want
I
to spoil
give
that.
it away. Yeah, let them find out. It's still just as cool, but, yeah.
A 3D printed lock does sound really cool.
Yeah. I tried to make it just as cool, the new one, but, how could anything really equate up to a 3D printed geocache? Like lock. A 3D printed geocache lock? How could it equate up to that? But yeah.
That is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my favorite find is actually a really big tough choice because I found a lot of famous geocaches that are been on all sorts of different podcasts and stories and stuff. But I'm gonna have to say my favorite one is this very obscure cache. Because, it's a tough choice, very tough choice, picking out, but it's don't forget to flush Birdhouse GC6WXMA because of the story that went along with it. I got up to the GZ and walked up a short path near the dirt road that we drove down and walked up to the locked cache that had a pipe sticking out of the top. I had read the cache description before, so I was known to bring a few gallons of water to the cache from home. After pouring water down the pipe a few times and seeing nothing happen, I realized what I had to do. Soon enough, the key to get inside the cache came out of the pipe. Inside the cache was a few bugs and a compartment that had a mini toilet and a magnet on the string in the bowl of the mini toilet. I tried using the magnet all over the outside and inside of the geocache, but again, nothing happened. In the end, I took a picture of the inside of the pipe that I had previously poured water down, and I saw what I had to do. A few moments later, I had a wrench in hand. In the inside of the geocache was another compartment with two bolts holding the compartment lid on. I took out the two bolts and got into the logbook compartment. Inside the compartment was the container that held the logbook, and the compartment and the logbook container was covered in real live roaches.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's horrible. There wasn't a single square inch that didn't have multiple roaches on.
Oh.
The sight was horrible.
Oh.
So I put my hand inside.
No.
And pulled out the logbook container that was covered in roaches.
No.
And signed the log sheet. I then put everything back together, but forgot to screw back the logbook compartment cover after I had put the wrench back. So I had to fish out the wrench again. After I put everything back properly, I had to flush the water out of the cache. When I pulled off the cap to flush the cache, the water came spewing out of the cache, and it nearly knocked the cache off the tree.
Oh my!
And it also made the path very, very, very muddy. Yeah.
I would have been done with it when I do not deal roaches.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Oh, that's awful.
Very horrible. Imagine this. It's like a little box compartment, and in the inside this little plastic Tupperware container. But imagine the whole inside, the whole compartment, and the whole container covered in roaches. You can't even tell that it's a compartment and container. It's just roaches.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Ugh. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
It
The
sounds like a really
CO
neat geocache. Just the roach part did not sound fun.
I was actually going to talk about this other geocache that the CO did, but I thought this one was more of a story, But this CO puts out very tricky, difficult caches. He hasn't put one out in a while, but yeah, this one was horrible.
Oh,
because
gosh.
of the roaches. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes some of the best caches are the ones that just have the best stories that go with them. Not even
Yeah.
necessarily the cache container, but just a
Yeah.
really good story.
Yeah, because I found one that's like a full phone booth and stuff. But I was like, literally, you know what's better than that full phone booth geocache?
Roaches.
Geocache with roaches in it is a better story.
That is a
There
good
we go.
story. I mean, that is quite the story. That's one that you'll remember for quite a while, I
Oh
imagine.
yeah, that was a tie with another geocache, which I forgot the GC code. But literally, I went up to the geocache, lifted. It was LPC. I'm like, okay, LPC, easy.
Yeah.
Lifted up the LPC cover, and inside I saw a real live rat
Oh, seriously?
moving towards me. I dropped the LPC and started running.
Oh,
Yeah, and
wow.
I'm like, I went on, and I went on and the funny thing is the container was outside because the rat kicked it out.
Oh,
Kicked out
really?
the geocache. But I didn't want to even touch the thing with a 10-foot pole. But I went on geocaching and Geocache messaged the CEO, and I was like, rat in LPC. And they were like, which one?
Oh.
I was like, the one with the rat in it. And then, can I log the cache? Even though I just didn't want to touch the really disgusting cache container.
Okay,
And
so
they were like,
you were okay with roaches, but you drew a line at a rat.
I mean, well, the roaches were pretty nasty. I mean, one roach is like fine, I'd say. But literally, it was like a whole nest of roaches. I was like tempted to even poke it with a stick, and they were flying out everywhere. But this rat was, I don't even want to touch a real live rat. And it was real, believe me. You saw it scurrying out. I saw it scurrying out the LPC when we driving off. It's crazy.
Oh, I believe you. I think I'd rather deal with the rat than the cockroaches, though, personally.
Oh my.
Is there anything else you want to share with us about your store or geocaching?
Well, definitely, if you want to check out my shop, you know where to find it. www.gadgetsgeo.com. That's where you can find my shop.
Well, Julian, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and telling us about your shop. And I will link to the website in the show notes as well.
So, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this so much. You run such amazing podcasts. Once again, thank you.
And thank you. You've been listening to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or go to geocacheadventures.org and you can find the information on the contact page. Theme music is by The Travel Bugs. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers. It is full of articles and pictures all submitted by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. My favorite part is the little snippets on the edges of the articles on all the different pages. Those are my favorites. Just go to ftfgeo.com to check them out and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you.